All right, we're back here on Is It Prophecy on Israel National Radio, Root Sheva. The show is syndicated as Messiah Hour on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis, and you can also check out some of our previous episodes with Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, Dr. Gerald Schroeder, Rabbi Ken Spiro, and I'm also on JApp as well. Go to www.j-app.me. We're continuing our conversation with Rabbi David Katz of SoulMazal.com. Rabbi Katz, we've talked about Torah politics in the modern world, but there was the concept of Torah politics thousands of years ago with Mordechai and the Purim story. Tell us a bit about that.
So just to kind of bring like a bridge between this concept you're bringing up, Torah politics and Mordechai, and where we left off with where we are today, right? Is there a link? Is there a link between today and then? I mean, is it even relevant to talk about? And is there a trail we can find, a trail of breadcrumbs? And the answer is yeah. And just to kind of segue between Moshe Feiglin and this Mordechai thing, right? 2,000 years ago or more, 2,500 years ago, and today, that is Ger Toshav, right? Ger Toshav is kind of code, my word code, but it's code for politics, right? Torah politics is Ger Toshav. I'll explain how that is with Mordechai, but to look at Moshe Feiglin, what they're looking at is was Zionism. If there's not, let's kind of borrow a line from Star Wars, right? Where Darth Vader says to Luke Skywalker, if you won't turn to the dark side, maybe she will. Like, isn't Leia his sister, right?
Right.
So it's like, as if there's a proverbial, like, Jewish people out in the world, if you won't come to the land of Israel, maybe your brothers will.
Right.
And that is the resident non-Jew, the Ger Toshav, the righteous Gentile, whatever you want to call him, according to your religion, right? But the fact is if the Jews aren't going to come and be part of the I guess Gog and Magog experience or Messianic revelation, then there's about 1 million non-Jews who would love to become like the first wave of Ger Toshav in 2,500 years. Right? They're ready to go. So again, maybe what Moshe Feiglin's saying is, there's going to be Aliyah whether you like it or not. There's going to be about 1 million people coming whether you like it or not. That is the history of Zionism. How do you want to serve? Do you want a Jewish or do you want the Gerim coming? It's that simple. So to look back again with Mordechai, where we really see Torah and politics, the Ger Toshav program was always the political faction, right? And Mordechai came into the land with X amount of Gerim back then, and Gerim occupied the land of Israel with the Jews in much of, or even all of, the Second Temple, right? And the holidays were affected by the Ger. It's actually a halacha l'maisa that in Purim, with obviously starring Mordechai, right? The Gerim were the big part of it, right? It says that the people attach themselves to Israel. That's the Ger. The Ger is allowed to partake in Purim for that reason today. So Ger Toshav is Torah politics. Was, always will be. And Mordechai in the Purim saga, the very last 2 verses or whatever, Rashi explains the meaning of most of the brethren appreciated Mordechai. Why not all of them? Because people were upset that he mixed together Torah and politics. So it sounds like a contradiction. There is Torah and politics, but you should not mix Torah and politics. So this is why that is the one for all the gold. Right? Where did Moses go wrong? Torah and politics. The Ger Erev Rav movement, to which I taught a class last night. The Or Chaim in Parshas or the book of Shemos, chapter 12, verse 48. It says that the Ger can take part of Passover. And in that verse, it says the Ger with you. What does the Or Chaim say? The commentary to the Torah. That doesn't say with God, with you. As Moses got a stamp of approval from God, God's saying, you can take these people out, but you should let it be known these are your people, not mine. Because if you say, yeah, it's good to be, light to the nations and bring out the Ger and spread God's light, that's your thoughts. And those are not my thoughts. Those are your thoughts. And what does God say? My thoughts are not your thoughts. So by definition, they're not my people. They're your people. But have no worries, because I agree with you. They should come out, but it's your deal. And obviously Moses was judged according to that mission. The Erev Rav was, always will be the make or break to successful Torah Judaism, making Gerim out of the Erev Rav and basically securing that concept. And that is the essence of balancing Torah and politics. Right? So on one foot you could say the hitting of the rock where Moses sinned, was that, kind of an evil blend of Torah and politics, where God says, you didn't sanctify me or believe in me in the eyes of the people. And that's always what it's about with, the Ger Jew kind of ratio fractal. And Mordechai went through that in Purim. The whole Second Temple is defined by that. We've died by that. It's been our death wish, our death sentence since time. But in the end, as King David prophesies, that will be fixed. Right? The nations will turn to Hashem. The Jewish people will turn with the Ger. The four houses of Israel will unite. Cohen, Levi, Israel, Ger. The land will return. There will be a Messiah. Yada yada yada. There will be a Gog and Magog and the disintegration of the false religions that undermine the whole cooperation of Jew Ger and an evil blend of Torah politics, to where the future state of Israel that has the Gerim on the land with the Jews, worldwide knowledge of God, you'll have finally the true blend of whatever politics means, according to Gerism, let's call it, and the absolute truth of Torah.
Because it sounds like Judaism's got to change from Judaism to truism, right?
That's it. It's, we ask any Jew how important 100% Judaism is, they will all say it is the only thing, right? There's no such thing as anything not Jewish, right? How do you feel about the land of Israel? Jewish. How do you feel about having your synagogue? Oh, totally Jewish. How do you feel about pastrami? Jewish.
Right.
So, but the fact is, we were never meant to be a Jewish nation. We were never meant to be a Jewish people. We were never meant to be on the Jewish land. And you're going to say, wait a minute. No, what do you mean? The answer is, yes, there are Jews, but not even that. You want to go political? Let's look at the Torah politically. Right? I'm not Jewish and you're not Jewish. As the non-Jews will tell you, you are an Israelite, Ari. And okay, you got me. I'm not really a Jew. Jew's a made-up term from the second Aliyah after with Mordechai and Ezra and Nehemiah, right? Okay, so we're not Jews. We're Israelites. But wait a minute. Is Rabbi Katz an Israelite? No, I'm not. I am a Cohen. Okay, so now you're backing up more. So true Torah politics is there are no Jews, there are no Israelites. There's Cohen, Levi, Israel, Ger, right? You're either inside Israelite, then you have, let's say, 12 tribes. So you want to get ultra political? That's ultra political, and that's what the Torah is. I mean, inside the Chumash, that's what it is. And in the Messianic revelation, in the time of the end, there always was meant to be Ger Toshav in the land. There was never meant to be a land of Israel that didn't know the Ger Toshav. That's why it says, Hashem tells Moshe, I agree with you. Bring out the Erev Rav and make Gerim. So when it says bring the Korban Pesach, when they give to the Ger with you, God's saying here, I agree with you. Even in the future, you're going to have Gerim. So there never was an entirely Jewish Zionist dream or an entirely Jewish dream or your entire synagogue was all Jews. There was always meant to be the Ger Toshav learning his portion too. Right? That is the fractal of Israel, four houses. The Ger is called the fourth Kahal. Dvarim 23:3, I think is the verse. Right? Ger is part of Israel, always was. But again, we never quite learned how to graft it together, and that's been the perversion, to which God also tells Moses in Shira Rabbah, oh, you can bring them out. Go ahead. But just know your reason is not my reason, and you'll find out exactly what that means. And boy, did we ever. Golden calf, like you said, the Holocaust, nations abusing Israel, right? Oh, we've taken our lumps. And God said, go see what comes on your hands from them. But in the end, it was meant to be. Moses knew what he was doing. God agreed. He didn't say we would understand what would happen, but in the end, it will work out. That there will be a complete four-house system. Cohen, Levi, Israel, Ger. Call it Israel. Call it Jews and Gerim. But again, it has to be according to true Torah. Right? Because the old school religion said, Jew, and you can convert if you like a filter fish. We never acknowledged the Ger Toshav. But in the ultimate truth of Torah, there is a Ger Toshav. And that is a status that will envelop the entire world.
Now, let's talk about Rav Kook, because Rav Kook, big Zionist and had a lot of Zionist ideals. Did he talk about the four houses of Israel, the Ger Toshav? What was his thoughts about it?
Before we get into that, I want to do a shout out myself. Can I do it?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So this is a shout out from my friend on Facebook. You know who you are. This is a debate we got into at Rav Kook, right? I'm going to settle the score now for all the Rav Kookniks out there.
All right.
People quote Rav Kook as saying that in the third temple we do not have karbanos offerings. I looked it up, and here's what he says.
Okay.
The Torah defines Jews as different from Noahites. This is a total diversion, but hold on. Jews are different from Noahites because we can eat meat to whatever degree we want to, and the Noahites are kind of urged to not eat so much meat. And so it's called, the satiation of your soul, right? And in the future, I think what Rav Kook is saying, and he's saying it, this is how he's saying it, in the time of the end, you're not going to just eat meat for fun, like go to Arby's 5 for $5, right? You're not going to do that in the end of days. You'll just eat probably mostly vegetarian, some pasta, eat healthy and naturally Edenic. But the third temple sacrifices and eating, that is not considered eating. Right? Eating is what you do for fun when you're bored, you're just eating a meal, you get by. The temple is not McDonald's. Right? It is holy offerings, holy food, and the sacrifices brought are meant to be called a holy barbecue. All right, like a Sudas Yantiv, Sudas Mitzvah. Right? When you do a bris milah, you get together and you have fleishiks in honor of the bris, right? So the idea is in the temple you're eating to create simcha, joy amongst brothers. The non-Jew will say he comes from afar to be in a temple and have the experience of a godly world, right? And that involves the animal going out on the altar instead of in the mouth of a lion in the middle of Africa, right? And going out on a holy way and having a joyous occasion. And it has nothing to do with eating. Much like the afikomen on Passover, why do you eat the afikomen at the end? Dafka when you're not hungry, right? You eat the matzah when you're not hungry. So it's not even considered food. You're eating a mitzvah. This too, the offerings are a mitzvah. Rav Kook never said there'll be no offerings in the temple. He's saying don't be a chazer in the end of days. That's my piece on that.
That's good stuff.
So what Rav Kook is saying now for us, for the scope of this shmooze, is that when he formulated his base din and calculating how can the Jews live in the land of Israel for this hypothetical yishuv that is thought to take place, and it did take place. We're here. So they said, you know what? There may be holiness still in the land. We don't know. It's a question amongst the authorities. And if that's true, in the Shemitah year, the sabbatical 7th year of the land, there could be a lot of sins happening if we don't govern the behavior of the people on the land. So they came up with a rabbinic system called the Heter Mechira. So anyone visiting Israel nowadays, you'll see certain grocery markets have a good sponsor or approbation to their vegetables. Is it permitted in the land on the highest level, and then every degree lower based on how rabbinic you want to get? The idea is to allow people to eat and even, let's say, not pay attention and still not sin as much or at all. And he had one problem in formulating the idea. And the whole thing breaks down on this point to those that oppose Heter Mechira. And that is, it has the land of Israel to work. And I mean, this is a fact. This is what I'm saying the whole time. For the land of Israel to work, you must have a Ger Toshav in the land. For many mitzvot, you cannot be here if there's no Ger Toshav. Right? You cannot even be here. So already there's no such thing as Judaism entirely in the land. As we know it, right? Gefilte fish and chaim. There's no such thing. You must have a cooperation of the Ger Toshav, which means you must have a partnership with the non-Jew. And you look at King David 101, that's what he did. Right? That was his greatness, was he knew his neighbors. He was practically one with the Gittites. He came to power with the Gittites behind him. So what Rav Kook said was, but we have a problem. There's no Ger Toshav when there's no Jubilee year. So what did he do? The Muslims, by divine providence, are not idolaters, according to the Rambam. They might not be the best guys around, but they're not idolaters. Therefore, you can use, on the most lenient view, a Muslim to fulfill the requirements of the Ger Toshav vis-a-vis these laws, and they have. since that time with Rav Kook. Except this year, they finally used the first Ger Toshav in 2,500 years, and that was engineered by Rav Sharkey, who we mentioned in association with Feiglin, and Rav David Lau, the chief rabbi of Israel. So that came about this year, and that's what we're saying in Rav Kook Zionism. If you're a Zionist, are you like Rav Kook? Whatever you have to do in that area of interest, just know that Rav Kook engineered the state of Israel according to its Judaism that we follow today. Right? Israel is Rav Kook Judaism. They're synonymous in terms of how the country operates Jewish-wise. And in that construct, 100% in the fabric is the non-Jew. And it never was absent from this. Just like Zionism always had an aliyah property. Just like Zionism is something of itself. It just is. And the current state of Israel is kind of like a garment enclosed over Zionism that functions in the creation. And they're trying to see what it does. The non-Jew is part of this land. Look at King David and Aravna at the Temple Mount in the Tanakh. King David bought the Temple Mount by God's decree through Aravna, the resident Ger Toshav.
Again, this is a Prophecy here on Israel National Radio, Route Sheva, and the show is syndicated as Messiah Hour on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course you can email me, messiahhour@gmail.com. Rabbi Katz, a lot of people consider the situation in Israel, I guess, somewhat like a weather report. I know that's ironic because it's supposed to snow in Jerusalem very heavily tomorrow. Tell us what that means, though, on a spiritual level when it's considered like a weather report.
Israel does, right? It just does. It does what it does. Whether you're here, whether you're not here, Zion does. And King David says this in Psalms, right? It just does stuff. The world spins from here, whatever metaphysical word you want to use there, right? Very much like an orbit. It says that the Shefa, that the spiritual bounty comes down on the Eben Shtia, the foundation stone, and then is delivered out to the nations. That's happening whether you're here, you're not here, whether you like it, don't like it. It is. That is what's happening. Now you can either have a third temple there, and a Messiah, and the priests, and the Levites, and the Israelites, and the Gerim working according to the truth of creation. You can have that if you want to. Let's say Moshe Feiglin, let's say on a light level, hinting towards that. Or you can put a mosque up there, and you can let Israel, allow Hamas to run the mosque, and you can have the world that we're in today. Either way, things are happening. Either it looks like Rome or it looks like Jerusalem. That's your two options. And so the world is defined by that spinning out of that rock, right? The emanations of the life comes from there. So it's kind of like Mercury and the sun. Right? The Talmud says that Mercury is the scribe of the sun's journeys, right? Because it's the closest to the sun. So Mercury sees what goes on, the planet. And so if you were to be kind of local to Zion, kind of like Melchizedek was in the Parsha of Lech Lecha when Abraham arrived, if you were to study Zion from the land of Zion, you would be able to see, a certain point of view of how the world spins. The father of that creation, or witnessing it, aside from Melchizedek Shem, was King David. Right? He studied Zion. So he saw how the 7 neighboring nations oscillated due to Zion. And again, whether you're here or not, it's going to happen. So what Zionism does is it's the belief that the Jew is connected to Zion and or has a relationship with Zion, is requested even by Zion, and we watch what happens from that point of view. Right? So if the Zionist scholarship, it always was gauged. Zionism is gauged. Political Zionism is gauged by what Zion feels or sees. Right? And so they basically, a nice way of saying it, the politics here are not opinion-based. Right? It's not like Likud says, I just don't like Jordan. Jordan sucks. I don't like Jordan. We don't say that. What we're saying is, according to the view of Zion, the Trans-Jordan area is an issue. right? For us, that's a border of Zion, and it needs secured on the Jordan River. So those kinds of thinking, right, the more connected to what Zionism is in its true sense, governs how great of a Zionist scholar you are, and the application of that is what kind of Zionist politician you are, and even more than that is the Torah politics ratio, Ger-Jew ratio is the ultimate test, and that's why Moses was trying to die to get in the land.
All right.
That was the ultimate goal for him.
All right, and last question we have for you, pretty briefly. I know it'll be hard to do because it's a pretty big comment, but Dennis Prager was talking about incorporating the non-Jew and the Jew. He was talking about Chabad. Tell us very briefly what that was all about.
Dennis Prager came out and said, Chabad's in trouble. There's simply not any more Jews left to go put the tefillin on. Right? You're going to run out of your numbers very soon. So just like we're looking for those million Aliyah people, Dennis Prager is saying, what's Chabad going to do? Right? You've already put tefillin on people in South Dakota. Now what? And the answer is there's a million Gerim out there. The Shluchim are going to dry up. There's nothing to do. Where are they going to go? Boys and girls, if Chabad recognizes the worldwide Ger and the Rebbe's true message of the 7 laws of Noah, there's 7 billion people on the planet that are ready to take on Ger, make Ger houses, right, Noahide Ger houses, and become that the world will be filled with the knowledge of God. And this is the essence of what King David is saying. Right, is the realistic ideology of Gog v'Magog. That's what this is about. It's about understanding the falsehood of religion coming down and starting to see what Zionism is seeing, what Feiglin is seeing, is it's maybe it's not the time to look at all the Jews, but worldwide true Zionism, the true Torah, Ger-Jew combo, and bringing the fulfillment to Moses' dream of entering the land.
All right, that's today's episode of Is It Prophecy. I want to thank my guest, Rabbi David Katz of SoulBazaar.com. Rabbi, thank you for being on the program, enlightening and informative as always. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me back.
Yes, and thank you everyone for listening. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, it is a Jewish country. Email me, MessiahHour@gmail.com. You can find this program on the Messiah Hour on YouTube. Go to YouTube, type in Messiah Hour with Ari Louis. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends and family about it. Even tell your enemies about it. I want everyone to listen to this show and listen to the channel. And I'm on JApp as well, www.j-app.me. Again, www.j-app.me. Check me out on there. I have a lot of my shows up on there as well. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This is It Prophecy on Israel National Radio, and everyone have a great day.